Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to a roundup of some of the news stories and reaction doing the rounds following yesterday's Monaco Grand Prix. Now, I'll try not to make this too long, but I've got 5 main stories for you and then I'll run through 5 more quickly towards the end of the video. First up today though, Ferrari is looking for answers as to why it failed to spot the problem with the drive shaft which stopped Charles Leclerc being able to take his pole position and ultimately his chance of winning his home Grand Prix. To recap, although I'm pretty sure most of you will remember, Leclerc hit the wall late on in qualifying, but having already set the pace, was still able to start from pole position. And initial inspections showed there were no issues with the Ferrari's gearbox, and following the repairs carried out, he was all set to go. However, on his way to the grid, Leclerc felt an issue with the car and returned to the garage, but with so little time before the start of the race, the team could not fix the car in time and his weekend was over. Initially, many questioned why the team did not change the gearbox where it was suspected at the time the issue was, but it was later confirmed by Mattia Binotto that the gearbox was not the problem and it was in fact a failure on the drive shaft into the hub on the left-hand side. Binotto insisting the gearbox was fine and did not need to be changed. He also says the drive shaft issue may not be related to the Q3 crash, but obviously further investigation will take place in the coming days. The big question is then, why was it not spotted ahead of the Grand Prix on Sunday? Well, this is what the team are looking into and want the answers for. On our side, we need to understand what happened, why it happened, and more than that, if we could have detected it in Parc Fermé, so it is important to understand why we didn't detect a problem on the car. The problem was not there when he left the garage, so the problem started to appear in turn 6. The parts that went on the car were not showing any problems, so we will be looking at the parts in the next days and looking at the data. There is a regulation saying you can only change parts which were damaged, so the parts we changed were really the ones damaged. The front wing, the front right suspension and the rear right corner. They were clearly damaged and we got permission to do it, so that's it. There we have it then, the drive shaft wasn't replaced because the inspection didn't show it was damaged, or at least they didn't suspect it was damaged. And there was not a gamble taken with the gearbox because there were no problems with it at all. It should be said as well that Binotto has also praised Leclerc for his reaction to the whole thing and specifically the fact he attended the podium, calling it, quote, a great gesture and that it shows the team spirit Ferrari has right now. Actions speak louder than words, according to Max Verstappen following the Monaco Grand Prix weekend and vowed to do his talking on the track. It was a strong controlled drive to victory on Sunday for the Dutchman, who jumped to the top of the driver's standings for the first time in his career and showed us all that as things stand, we are potentially in for a cracking title fight this season. But prior to the race weekend, Lewis Hamilton suggested that Verstappen had, quote, a lot to prove in this year's championship fight, to which the Dutchman later replied that he does not feel he has anything to prove and believes there is a good balance of respect between the two drivers. And speaking after his win in Monaco, a win that saw him stand on the podium for the first time in the Principality, Verstappen said he much preferred to do his talking on the track, but went on to downplay the importance of leading the championship at this early stage of the season. Well, first, actions always speak louder than words. I think that's a good lesson after this weekend. You have to talk on the track, that's what I like. We as a team so far made the smallest mistakes and that's why we are ahead. I hope we can keep that going for the rest of the season. If it is there at the end of the season, great, but there is a long way to go. Of course, it is good to bounce back, but we have to work hard as Mercedes on normal tracks are still the ones to beat. But this is a great boost for the whole team going forward. What do you guys think then? Are we really going to get a proper title fight this year? We've been teased a couple of times by Ferrari during the turbo hybrid era, namely 2017 and 2018, but ultimately Mercedes took control of things later in the year to comfortably take both titles. But this one feels a little bit different, to me at least. We talked about it more at length during last night's reaction, but I honestly do believe this one could go all the way. There are, of course, plenty of twists and turns still to come. However, after first blood went to Mercedes following the first 4 rounds, Red Bull hit back hard in Monaco. One thing I will say, though, is that Monaco is a very different track to anything else we'll see this season, so we can't read too much into the pace of each team, and I fully expect to see Mercedes right back up there in Baku. But we could be in for a great season. It's been far too long since the last proper title fight. Lewis Hamilton has described his and the team's Monaco Grand Prix weekend as, quote, not good enough, adding that they cannot afford a repeat of what was a miserable weekend for Mercedes. Both Hamilton and teammate Bottas struggled in practice, but after making some changes, the Finn was able to qualify third, which would essentially become second on the grid. However, Hamilton started just 6th, and that left him stuck behind Pierre Gasly, and with overtaking so difficult, he just could not get past. The team did try to undercut the AlphaTauri, but it didn't work and the strategy backfired and the world champion failed to jump Gasly and lost out to both Perez and Vettel as well. That meant he came home 7th, although he did take the bonus point for fastest lap and lost the championship lead to Verstappen, with Red Bull also leapfrogging Mercedes in the Constructors. A rotten weekend all round for the team, and Hamilton vented his frustration over team radio, mainly on strategy, and post-race explained, "This has never generally been a track for us. We have the longest car, it's like a bus to turn through the corners. It is not as nimble on a small track like this, but it's great elsewhere. There are things that don't work here which bode well for other circuits." We've had some good conversations through the weekend, but it's not good enough from all of us. We win and lose as a team, and collectively, it's not a good job from all of us, and we don't take it lightly. I told you at the beginning they've got a championship winning car, and they are going to be hard to beat. I've been serious about it all year, these races, and we've won races we shouldn't have won like Bahrain, but it's not over. There is a long way to go. We can't afford another weekend like this. Hamilton added that the team will pore over the data following the weekend to work out why they ended up where they did in Monaco. Meanwhile, on the other side of the garage, Mercedes has confirmed that the wheel that forced Valtteri Bottas into retirement on Sunday is still actually stuck on the car. The Finn was looking good for a podium in Monaco, a result that would have been a huge boost to any of his title hopes. However, when he pitted, his front right wheel could not be removed from his car despite all of the team's efforts, and that meant it was game over for his race. Following his retirement, Bottas said he couldn't quite believe what was happening and urged the team to find a solution and learn from what happened, adding that he is, I guess somewhat understandably, very disappointed. Toto Wolff added to that by describing it as a catastrophic failure and vowed to review the design and material of the wheel nuts. And elaborating on what happened, James Allison explained, "If we don't quite get the pit stop gun cleanly on the nut, then it can chip away at the driving faces of the nut. We call it machining a nut. It's like when you take a screwdriver and don't get it squarely in the screw and you round off the face and then can't take the screw out. If the gun starts spinning and chipping off the driving faces of the wheel nut, then in quite short order, given the violence and power of the gun, you just machine the nut down to a place where there's nothing left to grab a hold of." But clearly, that wheel was never going anywhere, and the team explained the nut will have to be ground off back at the factory. The team also stopped short of pointing the finger of blame at anyone, instead saying, quote, "Things always come together. It's never someone's fault. It is always multifaceted." Despite taking second place on Sunday to equal his best ever Formula One finish, Carlos Sainz has described his first Ferrari podium as bittersweet. Ferrari, I think it's fair to say, surprised everyone in Monaco with their pace as a team challenge right at the very front of the grid and looked in contention all weekend for a shock win. The Spaniard said he was comfortable in the car all weekend and believed he could have secured pole position on Saturday had it not been for the red flag, and that is why, along with the fact he missed out on the win, he had mixed feelings come the end of the race. If you had told me on Wednesday that I would not be 100% happy about P2, I would have not believed it, to be honest, because we are not normally fighting for this position this year. But then, after the pace of Thursday, I genuinely thought we could win. I think the team deserves to at least get a podium this weekend, but yeah, the bittersweet feeling is still there, because I've had the pace to put it on pole or at least to win this weekend, and the fact that in the end we didn't quite manage it is not great. So, Sainz is not 100% happy this weekend, although he does say that he feels that was the maximum he could have achieved. But I've got to say, given that Ferrari hasn't looked anywhere near challenging for wins for a while now, and the fact it is only his 5th race with the team, I think he can be really happy with that. And not only the result in Monaco, but also his start to the season as a whole. He has really hit the ground running in a way that some other drivers who have swapped teams haven't been able to. I'm sure he will look back in a few days and see that as an incredible result. Right, that's the 5 bigger stories, if you like, in the bag, but now I'm going to run through some more headlines from the weekend super quickly, starting with Lando Norris, who says he found it stressful fighting off a charging Sergio Perez in the latter stages of the race on Sunday, as he struggled during his second stint on the hard tyres. However, he is extremely happy with the result, no massive surprise there, and described his Monaco podium as incredible and a cool feeling. 5 races down this season, by the way, and the Brit is currently sitting 3rd in the Drivers' Championship, 9 points clear of Bottas. Pierre Gasly has described his side-by-side battle with Sebastian Vettel as hard but fair. However, he added that the two of them could have easily ended up in the harbour had he been more aggressive. Gasly went on to speak with Vettel following the race about how close the two of them were and explained that there was not 1 more centimetre Vettel could have squeezed, but again insisted the move was completely fair. Seb, by the way, also admitted the move was very tight. Not that we got to see it, but anyway. Sebastian Vettel said that he approached the Monaco Grand Prix weekend knowing that he had the ability to make the difference for Aston Martin and pick up a good result. And as it turned out, it was a very strong 5th place finish and a good haul of points, his first for the team, of course. He added to that to say that he was happy with the result and it's what the team deserves following a very difficult start to the season. Is that result in Monaco the catalyst Vettel needed to kick off his season? Fernando Alonso is disappointed with Alpine's showing in Monaco and says he was expecting a lot more from the weekend as a whole. Having qualified down in 17th, it was always going to be very tough to pick up points without a chaotic race. However, he was able to make up a couple of places at the start, in his words, by taking some risks, and was less than half a second behind Daniel Ricciardo. The Aussie, by the way, called his Monaco Grand Prix weekend one to forget. And finally, positives. Antonio Giovinazzi is very happy with his and the team's first point of the season, having taken 10th place for Alfa Romeo on Sunday. In fact, the Italian believes that had it been possible to overtake, he could have finished as high as 8th place. But either way, it's a great result for what has been a very solid start and in many ways overlooked start to the season for Gio. And he is hoping he can pull off another great weekend in Baku, a track he says he really loves. That is it for this roundup then, but you can, as always, let me know your thoughts on any of the stories featured in today's video in the comment section down below. And if you didn't get a chance to tell us in yesterday's live stream, then who was your driver of the day? Now, I will be back later this week with some more content as always, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this video, then please do leave a like as it really helps out the channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.